The city streets were lined with heavily armed forces as a massive horde. Thousands of mindless monsters charged toward them like a wall of death. These weren't protesters. They were bloodthirsty zombies. In seconds, the barricades shattered, and the undead swarmed the front lines. Instead of opening fire, the forces made a fatal mistake. They tried to hold back the tide with nothing but riot shields. That hesitation cost them everything. In an instant, the situation spiraled out of control as the infected count exploded from thousands into the millions. No one could fathom how these people had turned into lethal predators in just a matter of hours. This nightmare actually began a day earlier. During a break, Hanju heard a strange noise echoing from a dark corner of the science lab. She discovered a small white mouse inside a cage, but the moment she reached out to touch it, the rodent sank its teeth into her hand. At that exact moment, the biology teacher walked in. Terrified, Hanju tried to bolt, but seeing the open cage and the blood, the teacher's expression turned cold. He snatched her, dragging her back into the lab. He bound her limbs with tape and rope before forcibly injecting her with a sedative. Dr. Lee realized Hanju was beyond saving because the mouse carried a zombie virus. His only choice was to knock her out before leaving for his next class. But moments later, Hanju's body began convulsing violently. She tore through the ropes and staggered back toward her classroom. When the students saw her, they were paralyzed with fear. In a trembling voice, Hanju tried to explain what happened. Soo-hyuk immediately carried her toward the medical room. But on the way, she began losing control, nearly biting into his neck. Once in the clinic, the doctor checked her temperature. It had plummeted to a shocking 84 degrees Fahrenheit. Despite the doctor's order to wrap her in blankets, Hanju screamed that she was burning up. Suddenly, her eyes turned blood red as she lost her mind, lunging at Anjo. When the doctor tried to intervene with an injection, Hanju bit her too. Within minutes, Hanju was rushed by ambulance to the city hospital. Meanwhile, the infection took hold of the doctor. Her hand swelled rapidly and her vision blurred. Catching her reflection in the mirror, she saw her eyes had turned a predatory red. As her body began to twitch uncontrollably, two passing students saw her and started filming. But the doctor had already turned. She charged toward them, slamming into the wall before lunging at one of the students. The other tried to pull her away but became the next victim. The rest of the students scattered in a panic. The bitten student collapsed, went still, and then snapped back to life as a ravenous zombie, sprinting into a classroom to attack everyone inside. Like wildfire, the virus consumed the entire school. Down in the cafeteria, Anjo was devastated after Soo-hyuk rejected her confession. Chong-san, who secretly liked her, tried to comfort her, totally unaware of the slaughter unfolding above. As Anjo headed for the door, a massive wave of students burst inside. It was a stampede. The entrance became a death trap as people fought to escape the massacre. Soon, the glass shattered and the nightmare poured into the cafeteria. Anjo was slammed to the ground. Looking up, she realized her own friends were now zombies, tearing into anyone they could reach. One monster locked onto her and charged. Frozen in fear, Anjo couldn't move, but just before it reached her, Chong-san appeared. He tackled the zombie and hurled it away. Even as the cafeteria became a bloodbath, Chong-san didn't waver. He grabbed Anjo and fought through the chaos until they escaped through a window. But the world outside was no better. With nowhere left to hide, they saw a massive, out-of-control truck barreling toward them. Heavy iron pipes slid off the trailer, crushing several zombies in their path. Seizing the moment, Chong-san gripped Anjo's hand and they scrambled onto the truck and managed to scale the wall to the second floor. They dove through a window, but their relief was short-lived. The building was crawling with more undead than the cafeteria. With no time to breathe, they bolted toward the stairs, only to find the corridors choked with monsters. Trapped and desperate, they doubled back, but another wave of zombies poured from the floor above. Just as a predator lunged at Chong-san, Anjo grabbed a fire extinguisher and unleashed a blinding wall of white mist. Under the cover of the smoke, they slipped away and ducked into a classroom. Inside, they found a small group of their friends huddled in fear. The reunion was interrupted when a blood-stained hand slapped against the window. It was Soo-hyuk, followed by the class president, Nam-ra. The group was finally together. Chong-san managed to find a phone and dialed 911. He screamed about the zombie virus, but the operator laughed it off as a sick prank and hung up. Left with no choice, Anjo called her father's fire station, lying that the school was engulfed in a massive fire to force a response. The wait for rescue was agonizing, and when the phone finally died, the group's hope began began to fade. Suddenly, the door burst open and their PE teacher stumbled in. The students recoiled, terrified he was infected, but he insisted he was clean and ordered them to barricade the room with desks. However, Anjo spotted a fresh bite mark on his arm. Before he could react, blood poured from his nose and his body twisted in a series of sickening cracks. He stood back up as a predator and lunged, but Daesu threw the teacher across the room while Changsan used a table to pin the monster against the wall. In the chaos, another girl was bitten. Realizing her fate, she tried to leave, but the paranoid Na-yeon kicked her to the ground. Within seconds, the girl turned and attacked. Realizing the room was a death trap, Soo-hyuk kicked the door open and acted as a human shield, clearing a path through the corridor. The noise drew the horde instantly. Na-yeon tripped in terror, and Soo-hyuk was quickly surrounded while trying to save her. Changsan used a window frame as a weapon, and Daesu ripped a door off its hinges, using it as a massive shield to plow through the zombies. They fought their way up the stairs, but the undead flanked them from both sides. Trapped once more, Anjo grabbed a fire hydrant and smashed through a classroom door just as their strength gave out. They dove inside and slammed it shut, but the victory was hollow. Anjo realized she had dropped her phone in the hallway. Even as they stacked desks against the windows to stop the glass from shattering, a new horror emerged. Anjo looked at her best friend and felt her ice-cold skin. The truth was devastating. She had been bitten during the hallway brawl. The girl ran to a mirror, watching as her eyes flooded with crimson and her vision fractured. Anjo held her, sobbing, until Changsan ripped her away just in time. Bones snapped, a guttural scream echoed, and the girl transformed into a monster, lunging at them with bared teeth. Changsan grabbed a chair to defend them, but Anjo stood frozen, staring into the face of her former friend as the creature prepared to strike. Changsan didn't hesitate. He shoved the monster out the window, but Anjo lunged forward, grabbing her transformed friend's hand. She was paralyzed by memories of their friendship, unable to let go. Despite Changsan's desperate warnings, she refused to release her grip until he was forced to strike the zombie with a chair. Anjo's hand finally slipped, and her best friend plummeted to the ground. Devastated, Anjo didn't know whether to thank Changsan or hate him, but there was no time for grief. The shattered window was now an open invitation for the horde. Thinking fast, Changsan leaned out and pulled in a fire hose from the exterior wall, creating a makeshift lifeline for the group. Jungsu climbed down first to scout and spotted their class teacher hiding in the broadcast room below. One by one, the students began the perilous descent. Anjo was still catatonic with shock, so Changsan stayed behind, shielding her and giving her the courage to move. Just as she reached safety, the classroom door burst open and a wave of undead flooded the room. Changsan barely escaped, leaping onto a ledge on the third floor. Meanwhile, Soo-hyuk was pinned down in a recording booth surrounded by flesh-eaters. He tried to sneak out, but a stray noise alerted the pack, and they swarmed him. To escape, he climbed out the window, only to see Changsan dangling below with a zombie gripped onto his leg. Soo-hyuk swung over to help, but another monster dove from above. In a split-second move, Soo-hyuk kicked the zombie into the abyss and hauled Changsan into the broadcast room. Inside, the tension was suffocating. Na-yeon immediately turned on Gyeong-soo, mocking his family's poverty and accusing him of being a burden. The class teacher stepped in to stop the fighting, but no one realized Na-yeon was plotting something truly twisted. Suddenly, a fire sprinkler shattered a window, and a zombie tumbled onto the ledge. Changsan tried to push it back with a broom, but the monster grabbed the stick and started pulling itself inside. Gyeong-soo rushed to help, but the zombie nearly dragged him out. Soo-hyuk eventually speared the creature with a sharp pole, and Gyeong-soo finished it off by smashing a computer monitor over its head. The threat was gone, but Gyeong-soo had a small scratch on his hand that began to bleed. Na-yeon saw her chance. She shrieked that he was infected and demanded they throw him out. Despite Gyeong-soo saving their lives, Na-yeon's hatred fueled the group's paranoia. To prove his innocence, Gyeong-soo agreed to quarantine in a side room for an hour, but Na-yeon wasn't finished. Seething with malice, she took a handkerchief, soaked it in the zombie blood on the pole, and snuck into the room. Pretending to apologize, she used the infected cloth to clean Gyeong-soo's wound. Thinking she had finally found her heart, Gyeong-soo let his guard down, but the moment she left, she reverted to her cold self, confident she had just signed his death warrant. Moments later, Gyeong-soo stumbled out, his vision blurring. The virus took hold instantly. Realizing he was turning, Gyeong-soo backed away to protect his friends, his eyes flooding with blood. Na-yeon screamed for him to leave, showing zero remorse. With tears in his eyes, the teacher guided him into the recording booth to keep the others safe. Inside, Gyeong-soo's bones snapped, his body convulsed, and he fully transformed into a mindless predator. Stay tuned! The next part of this nightmare is coming soon. Subscribe now and drop a comment if you're ready for the next chapter.